What's up, creepers? We have a little bit of a trigger warning for you today. The movie that we are reviewing is Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is quite a controversial film. It has a lot of transphobia and misogyny in it. This is a film from 1991, and trans visibility was dismal. Bad. So just a heads up, we do use he, him pronouns for Buffalo Bill in maintaining consistency with the wiki, the books, the movie. So we apologize for that. If that really offends you, if it really offends you, drop us a note in the comments, and we will work on being better. We promise. So just so you're aware, we have transphobia. We have very bad misrepresentation of the transgender community. We have some pretty bad misogyny, and we are going to be using he, him pronouns for somebody who identifies as transgender, but it's always been up in the air according to the author, the director, and the actor. So here's our trigger warning card.
What's up, creepers? Welcome to Phin and Bryn Spoops.
Welcome to day 5. Today we have a classic film,
Silence of the Lambs,
starring Jodi Foster and Anthony Hopkins and Ted Levine. We need to give a good shout out to Ted Levine, our Buffalo Bill. This movie is very different because how many awards did it win, Phin? Like
5.
5 of the big awards. It won way more awards than 5, but at the Oscars in 1992, it swept the 5 top awards for Best Actress, Best Actor, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Picture, which was unheard of for a horror movie and only the 3rd movie in history to get the top 5. How do you feel about that? Challenge accepted?
Challenge accepted. I shall be the 4th or 5th. I will be one of them.
So yeah, So how many skulls are you gonna rate this one?
5 skulls.
5 skulls. We're not better than the Academy, people. We have, if they say it's the best, we say it's the best. It's a classic. People love it.
5 skulls.
It's taught in college. So yes, it's an amazing film directed by Jonathan Demme. So, there is bad misrepresentation of trans in this, though. Man, they really failed that community. So where do we start off in the movie? What did you actually like about it? Because, you were very young for such a cerebral movie.
I like the movie. I'm bad at picking out what I like about movies.
What about the tension? You are a big Hitchcock fan. Everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. So high tension is very important.
I prefer the word suspense.
Suspense. It was very atmospheric too. They used a lot of poor lighting. They always showed her there was never bright sunlight. It was always kind of cloudy, right? Well, baby, that's also Virginia, Quantico. I'm looking at you. So it's a very good film, and we are going to be spoiling it by breaking down the plot right now. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of here if you don't want to be spoiled. So how does the movie open?
With
Clarice.
I'm bad at names.
You are terrible with names for somebody who wants to go to Hollywood.
You're welcome. So it starts off with Clarice. Clarice or Clarice?
Either or, Clarice.
I'm just great at this. Clarice doing FBI training in the woods. And she gets called to her
superior, Jack Crawford.
Yeah.
And he is going to send her to go interview Hannibal Lecter, who is an incarcerated psychiatrist. He was a cannibalistic serial killer.
Hannibal the cannibal.
Hannibal the cannibal. He wants her to see if he will give her some insight into their current case, which is a Buffalo Bill serial killer. He is named thusly because he likes to skin his humps, which is odd because he doesn't sexually abuse any of these women. He just starves them and skins them. The hell. So
yeah. Great.
So she she goes to where Hannibal Lecter is incarcerated, and she meets Dr. Chilton, his keeper, it's a I don't even know what to call it. That's actually socially acceptable anymore. It is an asylum for the criminally insane, is what it is. And she has to go past a lot of gates. Never-ending gates. There's more gates than that. I think there was like 6.
No, there's 4.
There's a lot.
There's 4 gates.
And then she has
comment below if you watched it.
And then she has to walk past some creepy guys, and the last guy before Lecter, his name is Miggs, and he is gross, and he says some pretty foul things to her because she's a woman, and a lot of those men haven't seen women in years down there. We know Hannibal hasn't. He does say something very crude to her, and she keeps going because she is a professional and a bad bitch. So you go, Clarice, darling. She sits down and she starts talking to Dr. Lecter, and he immediately wants to break her down by asking her, what did Miggs say? What did Miggs say to you? But does she hesitate?
No.
No. She's honest. She tells him. And then what does he do?
What does he do?
He wants to see what she smells like.
Oh, yeah. Sniff, sniff, and then he identifies her
perfume and her face cream. Yeah. So gross. So wrong. So
is he in there for like 8 years already? How does he remember?
I don't know. He is a genius. He is a genius. He does mention that he had everybody's favorite line is I had his liver with fava beans and Chianti. What a lot of people don't know is that if you are on psychiatric meds, 3 warning foods to stay away from are liver, fava beans, and red wine. So that was a little haha from the director in there. So.
Yeah.
Something new. You learn something new from me, you come over here, you learn something new. Okay, so
I learned something new just now.
Chilton, by the way, we forgot to mention, he did hit on her before he sent her down.
Oh yeah.
And that was gross. Don't do that. Okay,
man.
so she tries to convince him to answer their questions about Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
And he kind of rebuffs her. He tells her that she comes in there with her Virginia accent, West Virginia accent. And he pulls out her accent on her. And to be fair, Sir Anthony Hopkins did not warn Jodi Foster he was going to do that, and she felt personally attacked. So the look on her face is very genuine, and she did thank him afterwards after they finished filming because he really pulled a much better performance out of her if he had just said it straight without using her own accent against her. He makes fun of her accent. He makes fun of her bag. She has a nice bag and cheap shoes, and he thinks that she's a rookie, and he doesn't know why Crawford sent her to face off with him because obviously he's always the smartest guy in the room.
Only one behind the glass, too.
So, yeah, he is the only one behind the glass. And
just reaches through, grabs arm.
Don't you wish Miggs was behind the glass? Yeah. So she's feeling a little humiliated and a little torn down by him, and wondering if maybe she'd made a mistake coming here before she had enough experience, and she starts to leave, being rebuffed by him. And as she's leaving, Miggs, the person in the cell next to her, is naked and jerking off. Like I said, this is never going to be a family-friendly show, people. And he does throw his semen at her face, which really pisses off Lecter. So Lecter calls her back, and he gives her a clue. He gives her a clue to a storage unit that he has, and she actually figures it out when she gets home, not immediately. She figures out the clue to the storage unit. She goes to the storage unit, and she finds an old car. What's in the car, Phin?
I thought it was outside of the car.
It was in the car. She had to sit in the car, remember? The jar.
No, I thought she was walking and then she uncovered something. She got
into the car, yeah.
She got out.
She got into the car. No, it was in there. It's in the car. Trust me.
And there's a head in a jar.
There's a head.
Please, I swear it's outside of the car. Comment.
It's
seriously,
disgusting.
I'm gonna go insane.
It's disgusting. The head in the jar is pretty gross, and people were attributing it to Lecter, and Lecter said he was not the one who killed the guy in the jar, because Clarice goes back and she questions him about it. What was that all about? And he says, I didn't kill the man in the jar. Somebody else did. And he does make it feel like, oh, probably it was Buffalo Bill, but he doesn't ever come right out and say that. She has to assume it. So they find the body of another victim, and they decide to go to the funeral home, where I guess towns are sometimes so small. They have their autopsies at the funeral home. That's where they store their bodies. In the funeral home, there is a cop that doesn't want to work with her because she's a woman.
How dare.
So, I swear to God, Crawford, her superior, buys into this guy's bullshit, and he goes, let's go talk where there's no ladies present, and he takes the cop away. So now she's standing there in front of all of these other cops, these dudes, and they're like looking at her like, yeah, why is a woman here? And it's so annoying. So anyways, they get access to the body, and they go in, and she notices
nails are broken and like torn off.
And there's stuff underneath them. Like she was trying to dig her away. So she noticed that there was torn nails and stuff underneath. And then when they're taking pictures of her teeth, she notices that there's something lodged in her throat, and they reach down and they pull a pupa, a chrysalis.
Yeah, chrysalis.
Cocoon. They pull a cocoon out, and it's a death's head moth. Oh, actually, they don't find out it's a death's head moth. My death's head moth. They don't find out it's a death's head moth until she takes the cocoon to some bug guys, and they hit on her too. It's just Jodi Foster, people, get hold of yourself. And it turns out to be a death's head moth, which is very rare and apparently was very well cared for. So it was stuck in there by an expert. And so while this is all going on, she returns to Lecter, and he offers to profile Bill for her if she can get him a view. A view is really super important to him. So he wants to be transferred away from Chilton because that guy is kind of a sadistic asshole. I mean, to be fair, Hannibal is a cannibalistic serial killer. So maybe he deserves some of the treatment he gets, but we live in America and we don't treat our prisoners terribly. Okay. Cannibal. Anyways, so he wants a view. So she says she will do what she can, but in the meantime, Bill abducts his next victim, but we get to see this one. Catherine. Yes. Catherine Martin. She's pretty cool. We like Catherine. When we meet her, she is singing American Girl by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and she's really cool.
Take her groceries back.
Yeah, and she's getting to her apartment, and she is out of the corner of her eye. Oh, she has a beautiful cat up in her window watching too. I wonder what happened to that cat.
Star-Lord!
No, stop. Leave our cats out of it, please.
I don't think that was her cat, though.
I thought it was. Anyways,
no, because
it was just a cat. We notice cats. Cats.
Cat count.
Cat count 1.
1.
And then she notices there's a guy with a cast trying to move a couch into his van, and he's struggling. So she's a nice person, so she offers to help, and he gets her so that she has to pull
it from inside.
He tells her to get into the van and pull it up. So dumb. Because Ted Bundy used the same garbage with his hand in a sling or in a cast or stuff, and Ted Bundy did the exact same thing. So anyways, she helps him, and he closes the door on her. Well, punches her out, and then closes the door and takes off with her, and doesn't know that she's a senator's daughter. Never take high-profile victims. Learn from Jeffrey Dahmer, people. Never take high-profile victims. So that was really insensitive of me. I'm disappointed in myself. Okay, so because they only have a few days. He only keeps them there for a few days, right?
Before he
keeps them in a well. That really freaked Phin out. You were like, there's a well! well in his house.
Like just a well. Imagine
There's a
being stuck in
well. There's a well in the basement of his house. And he also has a swastika quilt. What's up with that?
Saying that there's Nazi propaganda on his door. It's just like,
when we see Ted Levine being Bill, he is putting on makeup, dancing around, being very sexy. He does the very famous, "Do you want to F me? I would want to F me" type of thing in front of the mirror, and he's fabulous and I love him, but it's very transphobic. So while he's being fancy and prancing around in front of the camera, his dog is barking at Catherine, who's at the bottom of the well. They know that they only have a few days because he doesn't keep his victims for very long. So, and she is a high-profile victim. So Crawford authorizes Clarice to offer him a fake deal. She offers him the island. All of that was fake.
But did he? Yeah, he escaped.
Yeah. But yeah, she offers him like, oh, you get to have 1 week out of every year on this island where there's no people, and like she really sells it, and he agrees to profile Bill for them. And then while that's going on, Chilton, his really horrible warden, is recording that, and then he comes downstairs and he's like, she's totally lying to you, dude. You're not getting out of here. So he makes his own deal because he's trying to get really super famous. And he makes his own deal with Senator Martin and gets him transferred to this really big fancy prison type thing, and he's going to get him to talk about Buffalo Bill, profile him, and then he'll get sent to a much better prison. And while he's there, Clarice shows up because she's feeling very bad about that fake deal. She shows up and she's desperate. She's desperate to find Catherine. So she tells him, please, I need your help. And she gives the final piece to their quid pro quo, because they've been going back and forth where he gives her information about Bill if she gives him information about herself. And he wants to know why, when she was 10 years old, she ran away from her cousin's ranch. And it turns out they were slaughtering lambs in the middle of the night, and the lambs were screaming, and she steals a lamb and runs away, and they capture her, bring her back, and kill the lamb anyways. And she feels like she can silence the lambs that she hears every single night if she can save one, and that's Catherine to her. So he decides, that's a pretty good story, Clarice. I'm going to tell you how to capture him. So she ends up going to because he was reminding her that the first victim was weighted down because you covet what you see every day. So Bill knew his first victim. So she goes to the town with the first victim. She talks to the victim's best friend. She finds out that the victim liked to sew. So she goes upstairs to the victim's room and notices that the cuts on the dress patterns are the same
as one of
the cuts on the backs of the victims.
Yeah.
Right. So they so she discovers that they're making a skin suit. So she calls up Crawford, and Crawford says, no worries, we actually are already on our way to capture him. And guest starring my husband.
Hello.
So he says, no worries, we're on our way to go get him, and you just go and interview the last witness. So she's like, okay. She really wanted to go. She looked a little bummed. But they were already on a plane. So they're headed out to go capture Buffalo Bill, and she's off to go question the last witness.
Sorry.
And while this is all happening, Hannibal Lecter is in his big fancy cell having a lamb chop dinner because he loved that story. He loved it. He loved that story. So he's having a lamb chop dinner in, I would call it a celebratory dinner that he's getting out of the prison cell that he was in, and he got her to tell the final part of her story. So he's having this really nice fancy dinner, and he kills his guards. When they find it's a big reveal thing, and we described it the first time we filmed it, but it's really super long. So He ends up disguising himself as one of the guards, and he's being.
It has their face.
He's got their face skin on his face, and so they think that it's the guard, and they put him on a gurney, get him into an ambulance, and he reveals that it's actually him in the ambulance, and he kills the guy in the ambulance, and he kills the ambulance driver, and he escapes. He escapes, and it's an amazing escape.
That's the last time we see him.
Right. And meanwhile, Crawford and his team are getting ready to rush in.
This is a great scene.
And they start ringing the doorbell, and Buffalo Bill, and she's ringing
It shows Buffalo Bill. He has this like alarm system.
He has an alarm system, yeah. And it starts ringing, and he realizes that there's somebody at the door, and he's annoyed because Catherine has his dog. And he wants his dog back, Precious. She's got his dog down in the well, and she's yelling at him, and he's yelling at her. And now the doorbell's ringing, so he's really kind of fluxed right now. And so he goes to open the door, and it shows the Crawford team busting into the house.
And it's like, FBI, open up.
And it's an empty house.
It's too long.
It's an empty house.
Empty house.
But when Buffalo Bill opens the door,
guess who it is?
It's Clarice! They were at the wrong house, and Clarice is there, and she has no backup, and she's a rookie.
And she has no clue.
She has no clue. So he talks to her, and he's very charming, and she goes into the house. She goes into the house. She goes. And it has been revealed earlier that he has a very large gun. It is a Colt Python, and if you've never seen one, it's called a Python for a reason. It's for men with small dicks, I'm telling you right now, because it's got a very long barrel.
It's just like, I gotta have a long barrel somewhere at least. So she's standing there, and she starts noticing, sewing supplies. And he's very interested. So how much do you guys know? And are you close to catching him? And she looks over, and she sees a death's head moth. And she realizes exactly who he is. So he pulls a gun on her. She pulls a gun on him. Wait, you said she just sees the death head moth. You didn't say it was like on the sewing supplies.
I did say it was on the sewing supplies. Well, I said she sees the sewing supplies, and then she sees the death's head moth.
Yeah, and then she's like.
And he grabs the gun and he runs down to the basement.
Before that, she's like, "Can I use your phone? FBI, put your hands up."
Yeah, she freaks out.
And then he
grabs his gun and he goes down to the basement, right? Yeah, he runs down into the basement. I don't know how she knew which door he went into because it was shut. But anyway, she runs after him.
Yes, it's just to the right. That's right. It's always right.
She runs down there, and he turns the lights out on her, and he has these night vision goggles. Well, first of all, she finds poor Catherine, and Catherine is not happy when she's like, "You need to stay here," because she calls her a lot of bad words.
And then she's like, "I need to go to get."
Catherine doesn't understand that Clarice is the only one there, and so Clarice has to leave Catherine to go hunt Bill. So she goes and hunts Bill, and he turns off the lights on her, and he hunts her with these night vision goggles, which is really interesting to me because so many men are looking at her with those eyes. Like, she's running at the FBI Academy, and guys turn around and watch her as she's leaving, and guys looking her up and down when she walks into a room, and she's constantly on display. So them doing this thing where she can't see him, but he can see her, is putting her on display for one last time. And they end up shooting each other. He misses. Well,
first, so, like, he holds up the gun, and he cocks back, and she hears it, and she turns around, and is like, pew!
Well, he's touching her hair, like, almost touching her hair and stuff, and he's, like, really close. But you would feel that. But
you wouldn't.
I feel like I would. I feel like I really, really would.
You wouldn't.
But they end up shooting each other. She gets just a graze in her cheek, and she shoots him good. She shoots. She has been training, so she shoots him good. And she has captured Buffalo Bill. Yay, Clarice! So at her little party afterwards, she gets a phone call, and it's from Hannibal. And he says that he's in this very tropical, it looks like Haiti or someplace, and he looks like he's on vacation. He's got a wig on, he's wearing a white linen suit, he looks very nice, and he's watching a plane of people disembark, or a bunch of people disembark from a plane. And one of them happens to be Chilton. And he says, I have to go. I'm having an old friend over for dinner. So.
No, I'm just having a friend.
I'm having an old friend for dinner. So we know that did not end well for Chilton. Which is good, because that guy was bad. But, I should mention that when she was at the first victim's house, there was another cat. 2 cats.
2 cats.
The 2-cat movie, people. 2-cat movie. So, one of the things I really enjoyed about this movie is
that cat back there.
Clarice. She does defend transgenderism very vehemently by saying that they are very passive and they are not normally violent. And why would he suspect that this person was transgender? And he was using the whole the chrysalis thing to talk about changing into something else. When she is being left behind by her boss in front of the other men and they all look her up and down, she does call him out on his bullshit later on in the car when he goes, that would really burned you up, didn't it, when I left you? And she says it matters.
No, wait, first he says...
God, you keep correcting me.
Well, yeah, because
it doesn't need to always be
first
perfect.
Is important. He says he was just trying to get rid of the chief cop person.
And then it doesn't matter.
That it doesn't matter. See, that's because you need something why she's responding to it.
And she says it matters. Other cops look to you to see how to act. It matters. And I hope other people heard that. So,
yeah.
Definitely 5 Skull movie. Everybody go check it out. Tomorrow we are going to be watching our first creature feature called Crawl by Sam Raimi. So, we'll see you tomorrow, creepers.
Bye.